fifth graders. Today we are going to move on to lesson 9.3. Our topic is equivalent fractions, and if you need to look into your book for a resource, you will look on pages 382 and 383 in your math book. So when I look at the word equivalent, all right, that reminds me of the word equal. All right, something is equal to something else. So today our main idea is we're going to write a fraction that is equivalent or equal to a given fraction. All right, we're going to talk about the words equivalent fractions. All right, so for example, they have given us the fraction 3/4. All right, 3 parts out of 4. And we have to come up with 2 fractions that are equivalent. So what I often say to the kids is start with small numbers. Like start with the number 2. Now here's the rule for finding equivalent fractions. It's a very easy rule, but it's very important to remember. Whatever you do to the bottom number, you have to do to the top number. So for example, I'm going to choose to multiply by 2. All right, so I'm going to put my multiplication, and then I'm going to put a 2 there, and I'm going to put a 2 there. So this goes with the rule I just said. Whatever you do to the bottom number, I'm multiplying the bottom number, the denominator, by 2. I have to do the exact same thing to the top number. I have to multiply by that by 2 also. Here's why. Multiplying by the same number over the same number is equivalent to 1. 2 over 2 is equivalent to 1. 3 over 3 is equivalent to 1. 4 over 4 is equivalent to 1. So if you're really multiplying it by something that's equivalent to 1, you're not changing its value. All right, so in this example, I'll multiply my numerators together. 3 times 2 equals 6, all right, and 4 times 2 equals 8. So what that means is 3/4 is equivalent to 6/8. Now I pick another number. All right, I'm going to take 3/4 and I'm simply going to multiply it by 3 over 3. All right, so again, whatever you choose to multiply those numbers by, and honestly, it doesn't matter what you choose to multiply those numbers by, as long as it is the same number over the same number. All right, so now again, I multiply my numerators. 3 times 3 equals 9, and 4 times 3 equals 12. So not only is 3/4 equivalent to 6/8, it is also equivalent to 9/12. All right, now we could take this a step farther. Let's say I wanted to take 3/4 and I wanted to multiply it by 100 over 100. We can do that, and we can come up with an equivalent fraction to 3/4 because we're multiplying it by the same number over the same number. Whatever you multiply the bottom number by, you have to multiply the top number by. So 3 times 100 equals 300, and 4 times 100 equals 400. So 300 400ths is also equivalent to those 3 fractions. All right, so it just comes back to the basic rule. Pick a number, whatever you decide to multiply that fraction by, the top number and the bottom number have to be the same, because that is an equivalent of 1. 2 over 2 is equivalent to 1, 3 over 3 is equivalent to 1, and 100 over 100 is equivalent to 1. And we know they are because this little fraction bar right here means divide. All right, so it's always the top number divided by the bottom number. So it's 2 divided by 2 equals 1. 3 divided by 3 equals 1. 100 divided by 100 equals 1. So we're not changing its value. All right, that's why they are called equivalent. All right, so take a quick peek at what they say here. All right, so it says, these are the 2 of the examples I chose. Multiply 3/4 by equivalent forms of 1, such as 2 over 2, that was the first example we did, and 3 over 3, that was the second example that we did. And then you can see, just like we did, they got 6 over 8. All right, so 3/4 is equivalent to 6/8. And then they multiplied it by 3 over 3. And just as we did, they got 9 over 12. All right, so 6/8 and 9/12 are both equivalent to 3/4. All right, so we're going to do it again. They want to know 2 fractions that are equivalent to 4/5. All right, 4/5. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 4/5. I'm going to multiply it, first of all, by 2 over 2. Then I'm going to multiply it by 3 over 3. And then I'm going to multiply it by 4 over 4. And we'll see if we can come up with 2 of these equivalent fractions. So I multiply my numerators. 4 times 2 is 8. And 5 times 2 is 10. So 8 tenths is equivalent. All right, 4 fifths times 3 over 3. 4 times 3 equals 12. And 5 times 3 equals 15. So 12 fifteenths is equivalent. And then here I'll multiply my numerators. 4 times 4 is 16. And 5 times 4 is 20. So 16 twentieths is also equivalent to 4 fifths. All right, so I've got 8 tenths, I've got 12 fifteenths, and 16 twentieths. Now I'm going to come back over here and look at my answer choices. All right, I noticed letter B. Letter B has a 12 fifteenths, just like we did, and it also has a 16 twentieths, just like we did. So both of these fractions in letter B are equivalent to, all right, 4 fifths. All right, and again, just following the rule, you have to multiply the bottom number by the same as the top number. 2 over 2, or 3 over 3, or 4 over 4, and so on. Ronaldo measured the width of a dime, and he found it to be 5/8 of an inch. Find 2 equivalent measurements for the width in height, or excuse me, the width in inches. All right, so they are going to multiply it by 2 over 2, and then they're going to multiply it by 3 over 3. So let's do that first, and let's see what we get. If we take 5/8 and we multiply it by 2 over 2, remember these two numbers have to be the same. That's the big rule for today's lesson. All right, we multiply the numerators. 5 times 2 is 10, and 8 times 2 is 16. And then we'll do the other one. We'll take 5/8, and the other one they chose was 3 over 3. All right, and we'll multiply the numerators. We get 5 times 3 equals 15, and 8 times 3 equals 24. All right, so let's see if they get 10/16, and the other one would be 15 over 24. All right. They did. There's the first one, 10/16. And then now they're multiplying it by 3 over 3. And there they get 15/24. So just as we did, 10/16 and 15/24 are both equivalent to 5/8. That means, again, they represent the same value. All right. What two fractions are equivalent to 6/7? All right, now I want to draw a picture before we solve this one. I want to draw a picture, all right, and we're going to kind of represent, let's see. All right, so here is my picture, all right, and if something is 6/7, all right, we're going to color this in. I'm going to color in 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I just colored 6 out of 7. Okay, do you agree with that? We've got 6/7, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7 colored in. All right, now, if I took my red marker and I split each of these in half, like this, and now we count them, all right, now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 out of 13, 14. All right, so based on my picture, I have just said 6/7 is equivalent to 12/14. All right, let's do that math problem and see if that is true. If I take 6/7 and I just split each of those into 2, that means I have to multiply it by 2 over 2. All right, 6 times 2 equals 12, and 7 times 2 equals 14. Notice how that equals that, and that now equals the picture, all right, that I drew. All right, it was the exact same size, exact same shape. I just added in, all right, to make it have 14 pieces instead of 7, and then that made the 6 equivalent to the 12. All right, so that is one example. Now I'm going to take 6/7 and I'm going to multiply it by 3/3 and see what I get. I get 6 times 3, that's 18. I get 7 times 3, that is 21. Now I'm going to look at their answer choices, and I notice in letter B, their first equivalent fraction is 12/14, that's what we got. And then the second one is 18/21, and that is the other choice that we got. Now, sometimes they might give us a problem where there's a missing number. All right, you're going to use that same rule, all right, and you're going to figure out what the relationship is between the two on each side of the equal sign, and then you're going to do that exact same thing to the other number. So for example, here I say, this is 3/5 equals what number over 20? Well, I know that 5 times 4 equals 20, and then we go back to that same rule from today. Whatever you do to the bottom number, you have to do to the top number. So since we multiplied this by 4, I have to multiply that by 4, and 3 times 4, we know, is equivalent to 12. That means the missing number in this case is 12. All right, so just as we said, we're going to multiply both of those by 4, and when you do, you get 12/20, and so the missing number is 12, because 3/5 is equivalent to 12/20. All right, so an example like this, all right, again, I'm going to figure out the relationship between these two numbers. I know if I take this number and I multiply it by 9, that is going to give me 27. So I do the same thing to the top number. I'm going to multiply it by 9, and 2 times 9, I know, is 18. And so to make those equivalent to each other, 2/3 is going to equal 18/27 by multiplying both numbers by 9. So our missing answer is letter D, 18. That, my friends, is equivalent fractions. Just remember the simple rule. Whatever you do to the bottom number, you have to do the exact same thing to the top number. Have a great day.